Welcome to Alina's story time. Today, let's continue our story of Ole-Luk-Oie, the Dream God, by Hans Christian Andersen. Wednesday. How the rain did pour down. Hjalmar could hear it in his sleep. And when Ole-Luk-Oie opened the window, the water flowed quite up to the windowsill. It had the appearance of a large lake outside, and a beautiful ship lay close to the house. "Wilt thou sail with me tonight, little Hjalmar?" said Ole-Luk-Oie. "Then we shall see foreign countries, and thou shalt return here in the morning." All in a moment, there stood Hjalmar in his best clothes on the deck of the noble ship. And immediately, the weather became fine. They sailed through the streets, round by the church, and on every side rolled the wide, great sea. They sailed till the land disappeared, and then they saw a flock of storks who had left their own country and were traveling to warmer climates. The storks flew one behind the other and had already been a long, long time on the wing. One of them seemed so tired that his wings could scarcely carry him. He was the last of the row and was soon left very far behind. At length, he sunk lower and lower with outstretched wings, flapping them in vain, till his feet touched the rigging of the ship, and he slided from the sails to the deck and stood before them. Then a sailor boy caught him and put him in the henhouse with the fowls, the ducks, and the turkeys, while the poor stork stood quite bewildered amongst them. "Just look at that fellow," said the chickens. Then the turkey cock puffed himself out as large as he could and inquired who he was, and the ducks waddled backwards, crying, "Quack, quack." Then the stork told them all about warm Africa, of the pyramids, and of the ostrich, which, like a wild horse, runs across the desert. But the ducks did not understand what he said, and quacked amongst themselves. "We are all of the same opinion, namely, that he is stupid." "Yes, to be sure, he is stupid," said the turkey cock, and gobbled. Then the stork remained quite silent, and thought of his home in Africa. "Those are handsome thin legs of yours," said the turkey cock. "What do they cost a yard?" "Quack, quack, quack," grinned the ducks. But the stork pretended not to hear. "You may as well laugh," said the turkey, for that remark was rather witty, or perhaps it was above you. Ah, is he not clever? He will be a great amusement to us while he remains here." And then he gobbled, and the ducks quacked, "Gobble, gobble, quack, quack." What a terrible uproar they made, while they were having such fun among themselves. Then Hjalmar went to the henhouse, and, opening the door, called to the stork. Then he hopped out on the deck. He had rested himself now, and he looked happy, and seemed as if he nodded to Hjalmar, as if to thank him. Then he spread his wings and flew away to warmer countries, while the hens clucked, the ducks quacked, and the turkey cock turned quite scarlet in the head. "Tomorrow you shall be made into soup," said Hjalmar to the fowls. And then he awoke and found himself lying in his little bed. It was a wonderful journey which Ole-Luk-Oie had made him take this night. Thursday. "What do you think I have got here?" said Ole-Luk-Oie. "Do not be frightened, and you shall see a little mouse." And then he held out his hand to him, in which lay a lovely little creature. "It has come to invite you to a wedding. 2 little mice are going to enter into the marriage state tonight. They reside under the floor of your mother's storeroom, and that must be a fine dwelling place. But how can I get through the little mouse hole in the floor?" asked Hjalmar. Leave me to manage that," said Ole-Luk-Oie. "I will soon make you small enough." And then he touched Hjalmar with his magic wand, whereupon he became less and less, until at last he was not longer than a little finger. "Now you can borrow the dress of the tin soldier. I think it will just fit you. It looks well to wear a uniform when you go into company." "Yes, certainly," said Hjalmar, and in a moment he was dressed as neatly as the neatest of all tin soldiers. "Will you be so good as to seat yourself in your mamma's thimble," said the little mouse, "that I may have the pleasure of drawing you to the wedding?" "Will you really take so much trouble, young lady?" said Hjalmar. And so, in this way, he rode to the mouse's wedding. First, they went under the floor, and then passed through a long passage, which was scarcely high enough to allow the thimble to drive under, and the whole passage was lit up with the phosphorescent light of rotten wood. "Does it not smell delicious?" asked the mouse as she drew him along. "The wall and the floor have been smeared with bacon rind. Nothing can be nicer." Very soon they arrived at the bridal hall. On the right stood all the little lady mice, whispering and giggling, as if they were making game of each other. To the left were the gentleman mice, stroking their whiskers with their forepaws. And in the center of the hall could be seen the bridal pair, standing side by side in a hollow cheese rind and kissing each other, while all eyes were upon them. For they had already been betrothed and were soon to be married. More and more friends kept arriving, till the mice were nearly treading each other to death. For the bridal pair now stood in the doorway, and none could pass in or out. The room had been rubbed over with bacon rind, like the passage, which was all the refreshment offered to the guests. But for dessert, they produced a pea, on which a mouse belonging to the bridal pair had bitten the first letters of their names. This was something quite uncommon. All the mice said it was a very beautiful wedding, and that they had been very agreeably entertained. After this, Hjalmar returned home. He had certainly been in grand society, but he had been obliged to creep under a room and to make himself small enough to wear the uniform of a tin soldier. That's all for today. We'll continue our story tomorrow. Hope you have a good dream. Good night.